as the US lawmaker proposed to Donald Trump on issues of dividing Nigeria into Muslim and Christian nations. This man here, this US professor, is raising some very critical questions that are actually scary. In fact, according to what he's saying, he said there is something going on between Tinubu, Gumi, Nigerian Christians, and Donald Trump. Now, he's asking a very critical question.
Gumi. How many times have I called you Sheikh Gumi? How many times? Gumi, you are now going against Trump, you are now going against Nigeria. Listen to this. Reject the call for peace and prepare to endure the brutality of war. Those are not my words. Those are the words of Sheikh Ahmad Gumi. I don't speak like that. Because of Sheikh Dr. Gumi, today I'm wearing black. I am mourning. This is a dark day in Nigerian history. Since the Trump era Sokoto Christmas attacks, many influential voices in Nigeria have gone quiet. Radio silence. Some have gone into hiding. I have not seen the Sultan of Sokoto myself in public, but Sheikh Gumi feels emboldened. He's a tough guy. So tonight, Nigeria must ask a serious question after a rhetoric like that this morning. Is this peace advocacy or a threat issued to a sovereign state that like Nigeria? Is Nigeria still a sovereign state? Because when a radical Islamic cleric wants a nation that rejecting his own framework leads to war, that crosses a line. It crosses a line, ladies and gentlemen. Let us look at fact versus fiction. Let me be precise. Fact. Sheikh Gumi publicly posted a statement warning that rejecting his own peace framework will lead to, quote, the brutality of war, unquote. For years, this Sheikh has advocated negotiation with armed Islamic groups rather than their military defeat. He's never advocated for their defeat. This is my opinion. Across large sections of Christian Nigeria, Gumi is viewed not as a neutral mediator, but as the most prominent intellectual enabler of violence against Christian communities. Clearly, this is my opinion. That perception is real, though. It is widespread and it is politically consequential. Especially after Sokoto, it is politically consequential. Narrative control and Wikipedia. Let me say this on record. Wikipedia, which you know you can go there and write your own how you think. Wikipedia's profile of Sheikh Gumi reflects the northern establishment / caliphate power narrative in Nigeria. It is not the moral consensus of Nigerians who have buried their dead. 7,000 Christians died last year, according to Riley Moore. Wikipedia records power. It does not record pain. And millions of Christians, unlike how Wikipedia sees him, do not see Gumi as a peacemaker. They see a man whose rhetoric explains away slaughter while villages burn. Hundreds of villages, maybe thousands. This rhetorical escalation by Gumi is a national security issue. This was not mediation language. This was conditional. This is coercion. Accept this his own peace model or accept war. That framing does the following. It shifts responsibility from armed Islamist groups. It places moral blame on the state, Nigerian state and victims. It puts pressure. It pressures government under the threat of catastrophe. This is why this is no longer theology. This is national security. Ribadu, who goes to bribe people in DC, who goes to lobby with $9 million Nigerian dollars. I hope he's watching this. Let's go to the Magnitsky logic, which is not a verdict. Let me apply Magnitsky to this man. I am not issuing a legal judgment. But under the global Magnitsky framework, we target enablers of gross human rights abuses, individuals who legitimize or excuse mass violence. Sheikh Gumi raises serious flags, serious red flags, including the following: persistent public defense of negotiation with terror-linked armed groups. They're usually Islamic groups. I don't know any Christian groups involved here. Public minimization of atrocities against civilians. Moral pressure campaigns against military resistance. That is Magnitsky logic. That is the act that is going to be applied against people like Gumi. Gumi versus Trump. This is where worldviews collapse. On one side, on Gumi's side, you have accommodation, dialogue with kidnappers, fear-based persuasion, and on the other side, on the Trump side, when it comes to Nigeria, as you can see here, zero tolerance for terror, even worldwide, for terror ecosystems, including clerics who sanitize violence. And so, this is my personal political call. I humbly call on President Trump who has already demonstrated a willingness to dismantle terror networks in northern Nigeria. Europeans have not done it. Nobody has done this. Trump wants to dismantle not just the gunmen, but the enablers. He has shown this already. Sheikh Gumi should be investigated. He should be sanctioned. He should be examined under international law. Maybe he should be brought to New York like Maduro. If evidence warrants it, I do not even object to him facing justice in New York federal courts. I don't object to it if they can get the evidence. The same way Nicolas Maduro was pursued. That is my opinion. Others may disagree on it. Let's talk to Gumi. Let's have lunch with Gumi. Let's sit down, have Gary with Gumi. I make a direct call also to Nigerian leadership who pretend they've not heard this. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Mr. President, this is no longer rumor or speculation. People have talked about Gumi for years. A prominent Islamic player right in your face has warned the nation you rule of war. You must respond within 24 hours. You just came back to Nigeria. I don't know whether it's up to 24 hours. Silence will be interpreted as weakness or complicity. Mr. President, act. Minister of Defense and CDS. Nigeria has recently tried this symbolic balance in its security leadership amid international pressure from Trump. Many consider this cosmetic. Explain why. The current Chief of Defense Staff, Christopher Musa, who is in fact, the Minister of Defense, is widely seen as a Christian appointment meant to reassure Washington after earlier controversies. They're trying to tell Trump, no, we're not Muslim. There is public commentary suggesting that Musa is institutionally close to entrenched northern military networks. His appointment is viewed by critics as symbolic appeasement, not structural reform. That makes this moment decisive. General Musa can prove me wrong here. Let him issue a clear and public statement about Gumi and people like Gumi, or forever hold his peace. The vice presidency and Bishop Kuka, there are persistent political discussions right now in Nigeria that President Tinubu may soon present. He wants to please Trump. He may soon present a Christian vice president to project rebalancing and reduce external pressure from Trump and from Washington, D.C. Names frequently mentioned include Christians, Matthew Kuka and Yakubu Dogara, former speaker. Whether or not it materializes, Bishop Kuka, a former, I'm saying former because now the man is all quiet, former most prominent moral voice of Christian Nigeria, must speak now. He has been quiet. I hear he's working with, he's a party man now. Some are accusing him of politically supporting Tinubu, hence his silence. Since the Sokoto Christmas bombings in his own Sokoto diocese, this is a man that used to go every day and sit in front of Congress and say they're killing Christians, suddenly he's quiet. On this threat, on this rhetoric, on this moment, Bishop Kuka, silence is no longer neutrality. You are silent, you are taking side with the enablers. This is my final warning. This is the line. Nigerian Muslim cleric must stop issuing ultimatums to the state. Government must stop outsourcing authority to fear to people like Gumi. Leaders must speak now, not after the bloodshed, not after hundreds of thousands have died. Those who refuse to speak today should forever hold their peace. Like, subscribe, share your film, show. Action must be taken, ladies and gentlemen, against Sheikh Dr. Gumi immediately. I hope President Trump is watching. I know Tinubu was going to pretend like he's not watching. This is your Fiankwa show on YouTube. I am the voice of the voiceless. I am your independent voice, documenting what power hopes to stay quiet, like today the vote kept quiet. Telling fearless truths like I just did. I am Ofiom Akwa. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other. Make we go.